Probably the best known piece of classical music. With its famous four-note motive, the beginning of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Amazing, emotional, heroic, a cornerstone of Western music. Just wonderful. For me, this also is one of the best team experiences I've ever had. Being part of an orchestra, playing this wonderful piece of music. 40 musicians on stage coming together as one to generate this experience for themselves and for their listeners. We played this on a Sunday afternoon in the summer of 2018 as the Chamber Symphonic Orchestra in Darmstadt, a layman's orchestra where I'm playing the cello. Amazing teamwork. The orchestra organism coming together, everyone on stage putting his or her best effort towards the greater good of the overall team, the orchestra. It is a wonderful experience I would like to call Orchestra Spirit. The ability to transfer a technical capability of playing a musical instrument into a uniting emotional experience with such wonderful outcome. Hugely rewarding. Next morning, Monday. Back at work, I'm participating in a meeting. I have to be there, but I don't really know why. There was some pre-read I should have read. And when I enter the meeting, I already know this will not be a good one. I take my seat in the back of the room, accepting my fate. People work on their smartphones rather than listening and participating. 10 minutes into the meeting, the memory of the day before hits me. Sunday afternoon, da-da-da-da, this wonderful experience of Orchestra Spirit. Strikingly different emotions to this meeting Monday morning. Questions pop up in my mind. Why can't we have meetings which are as motivating as an orchestra performance on stage? What is wrong with this meeting? What can we learn from Orchestra Spirit to have better meetings? There must be something we can learn. According to a recent study, an average professional spends 2 hours every week in pointless meetings. Now consider that this average professional spends 3 hours every week in meetings in total. This means, in average, 2/3 of all meetings are a waste of time. This is what the professionals say. 89% report inefficient meetings as key irritants. 71% lose time every week in unnecessary or poorly organized meetings. And the 3 key irritants in meetings are people who take calls or do texts, people who interrupt others, and people who are not listening. This study shows a devastating picture of meetings and their efficiency. We have to find ways to make pointless meetings meaningful and change them into motivators rather than a waste of time. But can Orchestra Spirit actually help? Of all the differences of an orchestra performing Beethoven's Fifth Symphony on stage and a pointless meeting, which are the ones we can use to learn from? Which aspects of Orchestra Spirit are actually relevant to have better meetings? It's actually pretty straightforward. three foundations that build on each other to generate that one emotional experience we're looking for, just like the four-note motive of Beethoven's Symphony. Foundation number one. When playing in an orchestra, I know why I'm there. Beethoven's Fifth Symphony clearly needs cello players. We have super clear roles and responsibilities. Genius Ludwig van Beethoven has composed them. They're in the written music we have in front of us when we play. I know what I need to do and prepare for, and I know what the others need to do. In the company setting, we don't have that Beethoven benefit. We need to figure out ourselves who's doing what. But we can learn from the orchestra situation. Imagine the effort Ludwig van Beethoven spent to compose his music and define the roles and responsibilities. Like he composed his Fifth Symphony, I need to compose my meeting, making sure I set the right objectives when inviting, establishing a good and meaningful agenda, assuring the right people are there, and understand what role they need to play. Foundation number two. In an orchestra, we are ready to play. Ready to play in two aspects. Number one, we are all experts in what we do. No professionals, laymen. But we are skilled and experienced in playing our instrument. I started playing the cello when I was in grade 7. Second, as we know what we need to do, we really prepare for this. I cannot play Beethoven's Fifth Symphony without hours of practice at home. Alone, always the same difficult parts. And I know everyone in the orchestra does. Everyone invests that time at home to prepare and practice. Because without that practice, despite all the experience and expertise, we would not be ready to play the role Beethoven has planned for us. That Monday morning, a lot of people were in the room, but not the experts we would have needed. Actually, many people were in the room which were not needed, like me. And we had not prepared, right? I hadn't even read the pre-read. So when you're in your next meeting, before you go, check whether you're the right expert. If not, send the right expert. And take the time to prepare. Invest that energy, because it's very clear. Expertise and good preparation are necessary ingredients for a meaningful meeting. Number 3. Orchestra players listen to each other. As we know what we need to play, and we're well prepared to play our part, we can now focus on the most important part of orchestra playing: listening. We listen very carefully within our group, because we need to deliver one cello voice. One voice aligned in rhythm, harmony, and character of the music we play. We also listen very carefully to all the other voices. We know who's playing and what they're playing. We know what to listen for. We need to connect to these other voices to be in sync and in harmony. Remember the key irritants in meetings? People who take calls or do texts, people who interrupt others, and people who are not listening. Here we are, people who are not listening. Actually, if you take calls or do texts or interrupt others, you're not listening either. And even if people are listening, Often they're not listening to integrate and understand, but to answer and repeat their own point. Listening in the orchestra means that we absorb what we hear, the volume, the speed, the character of the music. We take this all up to integrate it into the way we play. Because if the cello department wants to show everybody else that they can be faster and finish first, that's not helpful. Even if we had agreed to play faster originally. The ability to really listen will transform your meeting from a pointless exchange of positions to a meaningful interaction which generates something valuable and new. These three foundations are the enablers of this team experience we're looking for. Everyone is in and knows that it can only work if everyone really joins the team organism. That's when Orchestra Spirit starts. That's the fourth ta in the motive. Ta 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 ta. One of the brutal truths of playing in an orchestra is that you can always hear whether we are successful. If one of us 40 doesn't know why he or she is there, is not ready to play or does not listen, you will hear it right away. Especially if we play the best known piece of classical music. We win or lose together. So in our meeting, if we manage to come around the key objective of the meeting as one team, amazing things can happen. And the three foundations of Orchestra Spirit are the enablers for these amazing things. We all can be sparks for Orchestra Spirit. Let's transform pointless meetings. Think of Beethoven when you compose your next meeting so everyone knows why he or she is there. Be ready to play and well prepared, and always listen in a way that you integrate what you hear into how you contribute. This will start your meeting transformation. One for all and all for one. Orchestra Spirit becomes meeting spirit. Ta 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 ta. Thank you.